You've heard it everywhere. Generative AI will change everything. But where will it change things? What are the impacts to my business? What are the benefits I should look at? My name is Rick Blalock. By the end of this video, you get an answer to a few of those questions and more. From writing code to composing music, designing graphics to drafting reports, generative AI is the artist, the engineer, the strategist, all rolled into one, your companion. So let's break down 4 key terms you'll encounter in this transformative journey. Number 1, large language model, or LLM. These are language models trained on all sorts of information. This is the foundation of the generative AI revolution. It's huge amounts of information. The second thing is called a token, and that's a building block to these language models that's used to understand and generate text. It's also in linguistics, we call them tokens as well. It's used to describe the context size also. You hear that sometimes, the context size or the limits a model can reason about in any given time. So a token can be a word, it can be a couple words, or a part of a word. It just kind of depends. The third thing is called a fine-tuned model. And this is actually an impressive innovation that sometimes gets overlooked in the big picture. Training a large language model costs millions of dollars. It's very expensive. But what if you need to add something specific to it, something about your business or some new field or something? Do you really want to retrain a model for millions of dollars to get that in there? Well, fine-tuning lets you adjust certain things to excel at specific tasks, whether that's legal analysis, creative writing, some custom knowledge or technical documentation. That's what fine-tuned models are. And then finally, the fourth thing to understand is what's called retrieval augmented generation, mouthful, or RAG. You'll hear people say RAG a lot. And this is a combo of knowledge retrieval, which is a fancy word for search. Just think search, with generative capabilities. That means it enables AI to pull in relevant information from your data sources and then use it when it's generating the response that it's going to send back to you. Let's talk about the business impact of generative AI. The numbers speak volumes. Industries adopting generative AI are seeing some really crazy outcomes. McKinsey recently, in their research report, estimated generative AI could add more than 2 trillion annually across 60 or so use cases to the global economy. Crazy. Banking sector is a big one. The banking sector, it's estimated that the value it could bring is $340 billion annually just to the banking sector. GitHub Copilot, owned by Microsoft, is another example. GitHub's a developer platform. And these types of tools, automating code tasks, suggesting optimizations, writing whole sections of code, huge jumps in productivity. A couple stats that Microsoft gives: code reviews were completed 50% faster. That's very important from a software perspective. 55% uptake in code writing speed. And then 85% of developers felt more confident and efficient using Copilot. Big deal. So of course, that's just 2 examples of many, but let's get to some meat. Can there be solid business outcomes with generative AI? Anytime new things happen or come out, especially transformative things, they drop into our lives, there's this race to make sense. Will this work? Will this work for my use case? It's very similar to the mobile space a little over a decade ago. Although I would argue this is bigger than the mobile impact. This is more like the internet type impact. But right now, everybody's kind of poking in the dark, like the mobile days. Is this useful? Will this be useful for us? Let's talk about 4 benefits companies are realizing right now in this early pioneering day. The first one, creativity boost. Now, don't dismiss this one. I put this here first, and you say, Rick, I need solid business outcomes here. Generative AI helps move past the blank sheet of paper problem. It kicks off creativity, writing some copy, compelling copy, an email intro, some visuals you need for a presentation, and you got that writer block. It helps move past that, which is great. The second thing, operational efficiencies. Again, GitHub Copilot demonstrated that for the software engineering side of things, which is great. But analyzing reports is another big section you'll see over and over again in generative AI. Bundle IQ is a company, for example, that ingests companies' public quarterly reports, and you can ask questions against it to check things fast. You can also have your knowledge base analyzed and ask questions against all of your knowledge, eliminating the need to remember where everything is at across your organization. Figma is another great example how AI is helping design and product efficiencies. When you get together for brainstorming session or ideation, there's that blank sheet of paper problem, or sometimes there's a lot of setup. That's very typical. You do it every single time. What's great is they have a product called FigJam, and what you're trying to do, it'll prep a template, and you're off to ideation without having to mess with any setup. It's great. After you're done, they use AI to sort and summarize your ideation like that. The third thing is data analysis, generating reports, creating insights from quantitative data. We know that's a major time suck, right? We have BI teams that do some of this too. We need to wait for slow dashboards or tech like Tableau to catch up. But what we're seeing is some great gains in this. For example, Hex.tech or DeepNote. This really simplified version of a notebook where you can say, hey, this is what I'm trying to do, or this is what I'm trying to figure out. It'll write the SQL query, pull in the data, and then create the dashboard for you. And then finally, fourth thing is adaptive and better experiences. At the heart of generative AI lies, in my opinion, the most groundbreaking capability, and that's the ability to generate and adapt in real time without the need of predefined settings or a bunch of prep. A lot of things we do or we build, we think about things in these preset formats because that's how software works. Humans do things on the fly and adjust and that kind of thing, but we're also kind of programmed because of the software we use to think about things like preset software solutions. I got to define all this stuff up front. But generative AI starts to remove some of that. For example, OneStudy, it's a type of qualitative survey driven by AI. You can tell it what you're trying to understand or the problem you have, and then you can send it to users, and AI will drive the conversations. You don't have to think about all the scenarios or possible ways a conversation will happen. And then there's things like adaptive learning, educational platforms that curate, tailor learning content, not just to the role you hold, but to your personal learning style, pace, even your current knowledge gaps, or the software might notice that you're starting to have some knowledge gaps and it can adjust on the fly. It's kind of like a personal tutor for every learner, ensuring that education is not just a process, but a journey crafted for an individual. A lot of exciting things. There's a lot of things going on. I encourage you not to just watch this transformation unfold, but to lead with it, lead in your organization. Don't just think of it as a science project. It's about creating value, driving growth and outcomes you need. And there's so much opportunity that generative AI affords to us.